right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the call. So good to have you all with us this evening. We are live on Facebook. Wow, full house on Zoom. Let me pin myself to the right place so I can make this work.
Right, good evening, everybody.
Facebook sound off. There we go. Welcome. It's working. So good to have you all with us, everyone from all over the country, and I know as well some international. So good to have you all with us this evening, guys. Tonight's going to be special. We thought we'd open it up, stream into the Facebook page, and invite some friends to hear from. Yeah, our legend in our team, Michael, who is, constantly dropping value in our team, has been working in the markets for 20 plus years and provides a ton of value to anyone he shares with. And so behind the scenes, we're all doing this thing together day to day, and yeah, plugged into an academy, learning from a bunch of pros, but it's an absolute pleasure to have someone local that really knows what he's doing. And so quick little admin for all of our students who just got started in the last week. I know there's close to a dozen of you guys. Jay should have given you access to Killshot this morning. So if you're wondering if you've got it, you should have it by now. Got a big spreadsheet, and I can see he's ticked done on all those, and he messaged me this morning to say that. So if you're wondering if you've got it, you've got it. If you're struggling to find it, let us know. But besides that, guys, we've got a couple really cool things in store. You may have seen the beginning. I showed those images of one being our live event coming up in TAUPO next weekend. So the 10th of June, we have got our live event happening, which is going to be amazing. Had so much fun with our Auckland event recently with people driving from, Joel drove all the way from Hastings, 6 hours, and then few cars from Taupo and from Tauranga and Morrinsville and all over. So really special that we're now going down to Taupo to do it down there, a lot more central for some of you. So we've already got a whole lot of people that have clicked going on the Facebook event. So guys, get off the fence, click going, because at the moment we're working on, we might have to get a bigger venue, but at the moment spaces are limited. So get in there, commit to it. It's going to be electric. Being able to be in the room and hear Michael teach live and just meet our community. Honestly, like for us, just getting together is so much fun. We had a lot of FaceTime recently at our live event. And for some of us, we got to meet in person for the first time, which was really fun. But besides that, trying to think if I've got any other. Wow, there you go. I've got to like make my participant list, like drag it longer. Full house. So good. So yeah, don't think I've got any other admin besides that. We're live tonight. Got another something special coming in Sunday night. Who enjoyed Lisa's story on Sunday night? How good was that to hear her share part of her journey? Lisa, amazing. That was super fun. If you missed that, go find the recording on the Facebook page or on the YouTube channel. It's there. Real high value. Just so powerful how, Lisa, you shared, your why that makes you cry. That was a really moving moment just to hear that, and it was really special. And so I know that I've already had texts from people saying that they're really inspired by your story. So guys, we've got something more, some more of stuff like that coming on Sunday night, but even more so this Sunday night, we're kicking that up a whole nother notch. So diarize this Sunday night at 8 o'clock. I'm not letting any more out the bag just yet. We'll leave it for now. And then our live event next weekend. So guys, that's enough from me. I want to, set us up for this evening. So, Mike and I, we text a little bit here and there, and he sent me a couple of pictures in the last few weeks that just got me thinking like, wow, I feel like we're on the edge of something pretty big. And I think most of us can tell, globally speaking, between elections and wars and banks collapsing, there's a lot going on. And so with that, obviously us learning how to trade, I feel we've definitely got the upper hand on traditional investors, because most of you already know investing, you make money when things go up and you lose it when it goes down. But with trading, it does not matter if it's going up or down. You can push sell when it's going down. To give you context, if that's a foreign concept to you, if you haven't already, go watch the movie called The Big Short. It's a brilliant movie, and it goes through with basically what happened in the GFC, the global financial crisis, where the housing market collapsed, and how some individuals saw that coming and were able to basically short the market. And basically means they made a very educated bet that things were going to go down, and because it went in the direction, they pocketed quite a lot from that. And so that's essentially what we're doing with trading, is being able to make money whether it goes up or down. And so tonight, Mike's going to be able to show us some of that, and I'm sure at some point maybe show the kill shot indicator strategy that we're running with. But Mike, can we find you and pin you, and so we can crack on with this evening. Guys, drop some love and appreciation in the chat for Mike. For those of you who know him, like the value from this man, bro. We're just so grateful for everything, like the journey you have been through, the years of, not getting it and just believing that God had something here for you, and being, persevering, learning, finding mentorship, getting to the place you are now, to where you're able to add so much value with so much clarity. We all really appreciate it so much. You can see the chat lighting up. But yeah, man, just want to say thank you, and take us away. Go for whatever's on your mind at the moment, whatever you're seeing, big picture, and we'll roll with you wherever we go.
Cool. Thanks, Ty. Awesome, man. Again, it's so cool to see so many people join us tonight. And again, just loved seeing everyone in Auckland. That was amazing, and look forward to having our event down here in TAUPO, which is going to be incredible. So small city, but it punches well above its weight. So we're going to have a great time down here. So what I'm going to share tonight is, like Ty said, there's a lot happening in the markets in the world right now. And I'm going to share a bit of perspective tonight that I hope helps you understand the possibilities. Because like Ty said, most people, when they look at investing, they know that it's only possible to make money once the market goes up. But I'm sure many of you will seen, you've seen traders on the news where the market's collapsed and they're pulling their hair out and they're ripping up their notebooks and their whole world has fallen apart because everything they've worked for is just gone within a blink of an eye. But as traders, we can have a totally different focus and we can make money when the market goes down. And there's a pattern that I'm going to show you tonight, which repeats itself over and over and over. Incredibly powerful. And we're going to look at the possibilities of what would happen if it plays out in the market. I'm going to talk you through it. But firstly, what I'm going to do is just share my screen because we called a trade, I think it was yesterday. And this is XRP. I'm going to briefly show this, and then I'm going to go to what we're going to look at tonight. So this is XRP, which is a cryptocurrency. And I noted out that we've made this head and shoulders pattern, inverted head and shoulders pattern. And so what we're looking at is price sells off like this. It makes the first shoulder, upside down shoulder, then it makes the head, then it makes the other shoulder. And then once it breaks the trend line, price explodes up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take off the indicator and show you what it looks like. And so for those of you who don't know, this is the price of this particular cryptocurrency played out since April. So April and then through May. So what we can see is you'll notice that this price zone here has been supported multiple times and broke down, retested it here. That's obviously a very, very important price where people are willing to buy or sell, or that's where price has been rejected from. Then it comes down, makes the first low, then it produces the head, and then notice that this low here is symmetrical to this side. It's on the same side. Then what we do is we wait for a trend line break. Here's our trend line break. We connect the previous swing highs. This should come down a little bit further actually to about there. And then once we break through this trend line, and now you can see that we hit the level, and then we explode through the level. That normally means a massive push up in price. Now, if we put our kill shot indicator on, we actually had a buy signal here. For those of you who are in a trading room, there's your buy signal there, right on the moving average. That was on the 27th on Saturday. And from the 27th, if you had purchased this at that price, you are currently up 9% on your account. 9% in two working days, which is amazing. So that's just what we looked at recently. There's the pattern in inverted head and shoulders with a break of the trend line, confirming this is possibly moving higher. All right. Now, what I'd like to, so this is a pattern you can keep in mind. And note that this is in the context of an uptrend. Okay, so we've broken resistance, we've had a pullback, and then this inverted head and shoulders is actually a continuation for a possible push higher. Now, normally, how far will this go? Normally, it will go the distance from the top of the head to the breakout point. So I'm just going to draw this here and change this color. And change this color again so it looks a bit more beautiful than that. Give me a second. Just make this opaque. Okay, so normally from the top of the head to the neckline, what we call, that's normally how far price will move in the opposite direction. So we're looking at a move up to about almost 56 cents potentially. All right. Now, what we're going to look at tonight is something that is super amazing. We're going to go back to slide 1. Okay, it's called the parabolic pattern. Now, what I'm going to do is actually just do a new share. we'll do screen 2. Okay, and move this down here and move that. All right, and turn this off. Okay, so this is called the parabolic pattern. It's a pattern that plays out over and over in the markets year after year after year. And what it represents or illustrates is any asset that has a huge increase in price because of massive demand. And so it will, I mean, those of you who've been through high school maths, you've probably all heard of the parabola. And this is what we call a parabolic move, which is an exponential move in price of some sort. Here is another illustration of what it looks like. And so typically price will start moving slower, and then it will start to get some demand, and then more demand will come into the market. And then ultimately, it ends in something that's just completely out of control. Okay, as you can see, demand keeps stepping in. Let me just find my pen here. So price gets pushed up here, and then gets pushed up again, and then the steepest part of the parabola is the last part. And then historically, once the parabola is broken, that is where you get a capitulation in price and the market collapses. So there's a lot of different patterns which represent the psychology of people who are buying or selling in the market. So has this happened in the past? Well, let's put this next chart on. Now, this is the NASDAQ in 2000. So this is the dot-com bubble. This is when the internet exploded. And so as you can see, when the internet exploded, it was a brand new technology that had never existed before. The internet, amazing. You can email, you can access all of information online. So what we can see is that the internet started all the way back here. And slow demand, as you can see, we're slowly increasing. And all of a sudden, people realize this is the next big thing. And we get this big increase in price. And then it gets a bit more mainstream. And then the next minute, people realize this thing is here for good. This is a brand new technology that is going to be revolutionary. It's going to change everything. And then what happens is we get the steepest part of our parabola. Looks like this. Huge demand, out of control. And then when this parabolic curve is broken, that's when we get, this is the end of the market. It's the end. And from that point on, we typically get a capitulation down. Now, I'm going to show what happened a bit later in this chart. But what I want you to notice is that before the market actually went down further than this, but before it went down, it made one last hurrah and one final push up, which is here. Okay, so that's the NASDAQ. This has happened in the past, and this particular chart, it happened 22 years ago in the dot-com bubble, one of the greatest bubbles of all time. Now, typically, these parabolas represent a bubble in the market, which means there's just too much. It's too big. It's too great. It has to pop. Okay, so that's the first one. This one here is Bitcoin. This is back in 2017. Now, I was in Indonesia at this time, and I was watching this play out. And again, this was a brand new technology that had never existed before. And so what we see is we see this massive demand, exactly the same picture as the dot-com bubble with the internet technology. So back here in this region, we see, the smart money are getting in, trying to get as cheap as possible. And then slowly, we get these nice increases in price. And the next minute, it starts to become more mainstream, and people realize, whoa, this thing is crazy. Could Bitcoin be the new technology? We better buy it. Let's buy it before it goes to the moon. And then sure enough, we get a parabolic curve. And once that curve is snapped, we get one more push to the high. And then for those of you who follow crypto, Bitcoin collapsed almost 90% of its value. And we're going to have a look at what happened next. But notice how it made one last push up, and then it collapsed down. So that was Bitcoin, and that wasn't 20 years ago. That was only 5 years ago. So this is not just something that is, confined to historic, decades ago, as far as prices are concerned. But this only happened 5 years ago. All right, but what about other things? Well, this is the Amazon stock. This is Amazon, and this is today's price. This is where we are right now, 2023. Now, look what happened 2 years ago. Now, obviously, Amazon has been one of the best stocks to buy in recent memory. Back down here, it was at 0.5 cents. Whoops, let's just go back. Let me just find my pen. Here it is here. Back here, look how cheap this is. Imagine if you bought Amazon back here. And so, again, this is on the back of the internet when Amazon was a bookstore. And then as Amazon slowly evolved into an incredible online retail outlet, what happened? Demand came in. People realized this is going to take over retail. We don't even have to go to brick and mortar. This is amazing. It's going to change the world. Let's keep buying Amazon. And what happens when that parabola snaps? We get a sell-off. So from here, there was actually over 50% decrease in prices. So by looking at the sort of price action, one thing you should realize is if you see this, you never ever want to buy up here, okay? Because it has a very high probability of reversing on you. That's the first thing. But again, according to the technical side of it, once this parabolic line snaps, you get a collapse in price here, and that's exactly what happened. Okay, so this is something that you all can relate to, not only Bitcoin, but Amazon. Okay, so obviously Jeff Bezos, second or third richest man in the world, he lost a lot of his value in this last decline. What about Tesla? Yep, same thing with Tesla. Exactly the same thing. So again, these are things that we hear about all the time. Obviously, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, and we also have the same parabolic move. And then once that line snaps, we have our last pullback, and then price collapses down. Whoosh, over 50%. Huge thing, huge capitulation. So one thing to note is if you see this parabolic move, you never, ever, ever want to buy here. That's the first thing we note. Okay, so these things are real, they're legitimate, and they help us understand that the potential asset we're trading is in a possible bubble. Okay, super, super important. So what else can we learn from this? Let's go to our next slide. Hang on a second. Where is my pointer? Hang on, let's just keep moving. Why is it not working? All right, just give me a second and I will sort out what's going on here. Just a moment. All right. Sorry, I'm just trying to find why this had disappeared on me. Okay, there we go. And all right, sorry about that. Can you see my screen again? Brilliant, okay. So that was Tesla. And this was one that I was involved in back in 2008. So this is oil. And as you can see, since 1989, all the way back here, oil has been very, very stable. And I started trading around 2000, and I was learning to watch charts. And sure enough, we had this parabolic rise in the price of oil. Now, oil makes the world go round. And I saw this curve unfolding. I remember printing out the chart, and I didn't have a lot of money to trade with at the time. And I went to someone who did, and I said, hey, look, oil is at $140. I believe this is a bubble. I believe we should short it. Let's sell futures. Let's short the oil market on futures. I believe this thing's going to crash. And so the person said, yep, sounds like a good idea. Let's work on it. They never got back to me. They forgot about it. And the next minute, or in the next 3 months, oil went from $140 down to $30. So we would have made millions, but unfortunately that person never gave me the money for me to trade for them. But we would have done it very, very well. So this is oil, parabolic market, total capitulation. So why am I showing these things? Because at the moment we have a massive war in Europe. We have the United States, which is about to be dethroned as the world's most powerful empire. We have their reserve currency, that is, so the US dollar as the global reserve currency, which is possibly about to be dethroned. We have the US in a lot of trouble, and we know that every empire and every currency comes to an end after 80 to 100 years of domination. So what's super interesting is that when we look at the current stock market on the right, this is the US stock market, it's identical to the Great Depression on the left. So this chart on the left is 1929. This is the Great Depression. Okay, so what happened in the Great Depression? We had a parabolic rise. We had a collapse of that curve. We had one more retest, and then we had the Great Depression. So this is where we are today. This is the stock market. So we have a parabolic rise. We've snapped that parabolic curve, and it looks like we most possibly might be coming into our last test. Now, am I saying this is 100% certainty? No, we don't know. Absolutely not. We don't know for sure. But what we can see from history is that there are a lot of similarities. And what's super interesting, again, where we are right now is on the back of massive inflation in the United States. Like the United States is, in a really difficult situation economically, let alone the fact that they're bleeding money. They can never, ever repay their debt. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on, and we're coming into a brand new financial system, which is backed on central bank digital currencies. So there has to be some sort of debt repayment, like something has to give. So a lot of the greatest analysts in the world are calling this the greatest bubble of all time. Now, we don't know 100% what's going to happen, but when we look at these two things, we can see a lot of similarities. So is this all doom and gloom? No, it's not, because if there is some change, we can take advantage of it. But as traders, this is definitely an advantage we can take. We can use to our advantage, because even if the market goes down, we can still make money. So this possibly could be one of the greatest opportunities for years and years and years and years and years. And as traders, if we have a skill set, we can actually learn to short this market. And look what happened in 1929 when this thing collapsed. It went down for the next 3 years. So let's have a look at the next slide. Now, this shows the unemployment in the United States going back 20 years. And what you'll notice is that every time the unemployment rate spiked above the zero, we had a recession. So 2001, that was when we had the massive recession all through Asia. Unemployment spiked. 2007, we jumped above the zero line. Unemployment spiked, and that's when we had the GFC. Then in 2020, we had massive unemployment due to COVID, and now we've just popped up above that zero line again with a lot of momentum. So when we look at the data, economic data, it's not difficult to say when interest rates are going to increase and when inflation is going to occur, because the market works like a clock, and we have all this data to tell us. We know what's coming. So it's highly probable that we will have a massive recession in the next 2 years. But that doesn't need to be something that we can worry about, because if we have the right skill set, it's actually something we can take advantage of. So as traders, we have the opportunity to understand and recognize when to get out of a position and also when to get into a position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my other screen. Let me just change this, come back to 1. Okay, we'll remove that. We'll get this out of the way. All right, so let's just check. I have a trade on, it's up 20 ticks. I want to take that out soon. Should go 19 ticks. All right, so this is Bitcoin on the left. And as you can see, this is the parabolic move. All right, and then it made one last push higher, and then it collapsed down 90%. This is the NASDAQ. This was the parabolic move. One last push up, and then a massive collapse. Okay, now let's go to where the NASDAQ is today. A lot higher. Okay, let's put the monthly chart on. This is the NASDAQ today. Now, does that look like a parabolic move? It really does. Now, what's interesting is that obviously with the introduction of AI, because that is a tech-related industry, it's possible that the NASDAQ could go up further from here. Okay, so that is possible. But we've clearly had our first break of that parabolic line. Now, this chart on the right is the NASDAQ today. This is where we are today. The chart on the left, let's go to, so this is Bitcoin. Now, what I'm going to do, this is Bitcoin back in 2017, is I'm going to cover, okay, let's just draw a line here. That's where we are today on the NASDAQ. And let's say this is where we are in Bitcoin. And let's just cover up the price. Can you see it's almost identical? If I just put that square in and cover the price, you can see it's almost an identical chart. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen 100%, but the principles are the same, that often with a parabolic move, we have one last push up and then a reversal. So it's super interesting that that's exactly where we are today on the NASDAQ. So now if we look at what happened in Bitcoin, how do we know with 100% accuracy that we are going to get this move down? How do we know? Well, we will always have a trend line break. Okay, so let's have a look here. We make one last push up, we fail to reach the previous high, and then we have a trend line break. Okay, so we have the swing lows here to here. Extrapolate that through. Once that floor is broken, look at all the selling that comes in. Massive selling. Okay, now let's go back in time and see if that happened on the NASDAQ back in 2000. Let's have a look. Do we have the same thing? Yes, we do. We have our last high. We then have our trend line break. See, swing low, swing low. This is a weekly chart. And once that trend line is broken, the sellers step in and the market crashes. So in a matter of weeks, it goes down 42%. So is this something to be afraid about? No, because if we can identify this, we can say, aha, trend line's broken. I know how to trade. I also have a skill set that actually gives me, that tells me when there's signals. Here's our sell signal, a little bit late, but sure enough, if we sold there on our sell signal, from that point, the market goes down 70% over the next 2 years, over the next year and a half. What about Bitcoin? Yep, there's our sell signal. And from the sell, price goes down 47% in about 2 months. So let's go back to where we are today. So I'm not saying this to scare anybody, but I'm saying if we know what to do, we have an amazing opportunity. So right now, we are still in a strong trend up. You can see we have a buy signal. We don't know where this current up move is going to end. We don't know for certain. It might with AI increasing exponentially, it might just keep going like this for the next 2 years. Now, if that's the case, we will have opportunities to buy all the way up because we know how to trade. We know how to enter on the NASDAQ. We have so many different strategies we can use. But if the market stops and starts reversing down and we get our trend line break and the market falls off a cliff like it did in 1929 and this thing crashes 50%, we'll be able to make money all the way down, because as traders, we don't only make money in a rising market, we also make money when the market collapses. We can sell when the price is high, and when it drops, we can buy it back when it's cheaper, and we can pocket the difference. So this is something that's playing out right now. Obviously, there's so much financial upheaval in the world. There's so much uncertainty around the economic situation. And that's on the back of a huge war, the first great war since 1945, and ridiculous inflation, interest rates going out of control, and a possible re-election next year in the States, which could make things even more interesting. So what I'm saying is, when we look at the patterns of history, we can get a possible understanding of where we are right now. And history tells us how we can play, how we can approach those patterns when they play out in the future. So we can look back and say, all right, if we make a failed lower high, and once we get a move down and we get a trend line break, we can actually sell and get a massive move in price. Now, I know I've covered a lot there. I'm just going to quickly go to the chat and answer a whole lot of questions, because I see a ton of questions here. Maria, the head and shoulders pattern on XRP on a 1 minute chart. Let me just show you quickly. In fact, just check my, all right, let's just have a look on a 1 minute chart. If you have any questions about that parabolic move, if you have any questions about what I've just showed you, let me know and I will cover that. So Maria, on a 1 minute chart, this is XRP. This is what it looks like on the 1 minute chart. Okay, so as you can see, tons of buy signals all the way up there. Once you make your bottom, in fact, we had beautiful buy signal today in this region here off the moving averages. And from that point, price has gone up about 2.5% today. So nice increase. Cryptocurrencies are not as clear on a lower time frame. A 5 minute chart would be more helpful. As you can see, the candles are a little bit easier to read. Okay, so I'll just come back. Oops. All right, come back to my chart. Okay. Joel, if we were to short this, what time frame? Yes, sorry, I was unable to see all the messages when they came through. So if we're going to short, we would not short the indices until we get a confirmation. And you would want to hold for days. When you get, so let's just go back to our higher time frames. When you get a snap of these parabolic curves, you can hold them for weeks. And again, we're making a lot more than investors do because our trades are leveraged. So if the market goes up over a year, an investor might make 20%. If a market collapses, let me just illustrate it here actually. Let's say that an investor buys at the corona lows in March 2020, and you will see that from that point, the market went up 135%. Okay, so huge gains, pretty good. Now, let's say that you are a trader, and let's say that you saw this was the top of the market and you sold. Now, why would you sell? Well, you've got a trend line break. Once that trend line broke, that's when the market collapsed. Let's say that you sold in here. Now, if you sell as a trader, even down to these lows here, if your position was leveraged, even though the investor made 137% from here to here, because you're trading with leverage like 50 to 100 to 1, you're probably making 2,000 to 5,000% on your investment. And your reward to risk is ridiculous because you're trading off a lower time frame. So because traders use leverage, we make a lot more money than a typical investor who's trading on a one-for-one basis. Yes, Lisa. So after a trend line break, we're looking for, we're basically looking for a close of a candle. So if we look at this trend line here, this is a 2-year trend line. So this is the Corona lows, and this is the top of the market 2 years later. So this is a 2-year trend. And then once price closes below this trend line on that red candle, that's your entry. So how does this help you if you're simply an investor? Well, once you see the snap of this trend line, if you had bought all the way back here, you know that this is when you should exit your position. Don't hold, because now if you bring it down here, you're now down 50%. So those last 2 years of holding is all evaporated. So if you're an investor, this tells you to get out. If you're a trader, this is when you sell. And sure enough, price goes down, very, very quickly. So we're looking for a close below the trend line. So Lisa, if you are trading the parabolic move, you're waiting for the confirmation on a higher time frame, and then absolutely you are looking for an entry off a lower time frame chart, like a 1 minute or 3 minute. That gives you huge reward to risk. Just going to go back and see what our trade's doing. So this is the current trade I have on. We're up 24 pips. I'll look at this trade a bit later. It's a very, very good trade for our students. Okay, so this tells us possibly what's happening in the future, and it also tells us how to approach it. So we can look at a chart with a high degree of accuracy and say, all right, I can see that this chart is out of control and it is going to possibly roll over. And if it does, I know how to get into a short position. But at the same time, if this chart just decides to explode higher like NASDAQ, this is a weekly chart. Let's go down to a daily chart. And for those of us who are students, we have a triple bottom, 1, 2, 3. Then we have the break of a trend line. As you can see, we have the first high, the second high. Once that trend line breaks, there's the close above the trend line. And we also have a buy signal indicated by that blue arrow. That's where our buyers, that's back on the middle of January this year. And to date, this position is up 20%. Only on a buy and hold basis. But if you had a leveraged position on this, then you're probably up 300 to 600% on that position. So the inverse is also possible. If you have a parabolic move that's down and we find a bottom, we find support. As you can see, there's a clear support pattern, price is rounding. Sellers are trying to push it lower each time. They're failing to break the previous low. And then once the buyers step back in this area here, all the sellers are gone. Once all the sellers are gone, there's only one group left, and that's the buyers. We thought maybe at this point they were going to push it down. They were not able to. We then had a new trend line across here. And then notice, once we broke that trend line again, we came back and retested it once, and then boom, exploded in price. So what am I looking at? Well, we don't know with 100% accuracy that this collapse that I've talked about is coming, and we don't know when it's going to happen. We have no idea. What we can know is this looks like a bubble. Now, in context, this was the bubble back in 2000, pretty insignificant. Now, this is basically what Bitcoin was. And then let's just have a look at it. Back in 2017, here's Bitcoin. We thought it was a bubble back then, and look what happened. Boom. That's exactly what happened to the NASDAQ. New technology, 90% sell-off, and then adoption. However, we could be coming into a critical time where we might see a reversal. If it comes, we know what to do. If it doesn't come, then we can just ride the trend higher. So when we look at a chart, the chart will reflect the psychology of investors, of buyers and sellers. We can know what to do. We can also know not what to do. Again, for example, if you're in the market, let's just go back and look at Tesla. Does anyone here own Tesla stock? Just put a Y in the chat if you own Tesla stock, or if you have owned Tesla stock. Priscilla, yep, okay. So imagine if you could look at your, yeah, Etienne, Marcus, yep, you're all very, very smart people, incredibly smart, because in the last 2 years, Amazon has gone up over 1,700%. 1,700%. Now, for those of you who have watched a lot of our material, what do we see here? Those of you who are students, divergence. So when you see this, and when you see that we have a parabolic move, let me just remove our indicator so it's clearer. If you are holding this stock, you absolutely want to be getting out somewhere in this region. And sure enough, we drop for 75% in a year. And you have the opportunity to get back in again. You always have the opportunity. But the theory tells us that when this parabolic curve snaps, typically fear comes into the market and all of the buyers step out. So this is going to help you as traders. And again, the same thing happened with Amazon. And this is also going to help you as investors if you currently hold stock. Same thing happened with Amazon. This is a live market. Here's our parabolic curve. Once it snaps, wow, what else do we have here? Divergence. Is this a place you want to buy or sell? No. The moment we see this, we are absolutely not thinking about buying. We're exiting our positions, and the market collapses from there 55%. Now, what's our confirmation here? It's just a trend line break at the top. Boom. Now look at this. You get your first primary low. You get your second low. Once that trend line snaps, boom, there's your entry. We get an initial collapse down of 17%. We then get a retest of that trend line and a failure, and then it's lights out. Boom. So learning to read a chart provides an invaluable skill set, not only for trading and taking advantage of opportunities, but learning to manage a portfolio as well. And obviously, if you can't afford real estate, then you want some sort of paper portfolio, whether it's stocks or crypto or bonds or whatever you like. And was there an opportunity to get long in Amazon? Yeah, absolutely there was, because at the bottom, after that 70% collapse in price, what do we have here at the bottom? Who knows what we have as students? Our students here, put it in the chat if you can see what this is. Yeah, we got divergence at the bottom. We then have a break of a trend line that tells us to get back in. Let's go down to a lower time frame on the daily chart to find our entry. Let's just clean up this trend line so it's a bit clearer. And we knew that almost with a high degree of accuracy, this is the bottom of Amazon for now. There's our trend line. Once price snaps that trend line there, we also get a buy signal on the indicator. From that buy signal, we're up 25% in the last 4 months. So again, learning how to read the markets, learning how to understand how price works, and learning from history. Again, you know, I love the saying that history doesn't always repeat, but it does rhyme. And in the markets, it tends to do that a lot. And why is that? It's simply because human behavior doesn't change. Like in the markets, human behavior is basically predicated upon greed and fear. And when you look at a chart, you can actually see if there's greed or if there's fear in the market. When you look at a parabolic curve, you can see greed because people see potential. But what about when that greed runs out? What about when someone has bought the last widget and there's no widgets to buy? Well, obviously, someone has to start selling their widgets, and then everyone starts selling their widgets, and then fear comes into the market, and then panic, and then you get a massive capitulation in price, and it's lights out. So I don't want to distill fear into anyone tonight, but I do want to say this is a skill set that will help you to learn to understand how the markets work, and you can actually know what's going to happen with a high degree of accuracy by learning to understand the psychology behind what you see on a chart, which is the buyers and sellers. So I hope that's been helpful to you tonight. That's just one of many patterns that we look at as traders. And for those of you who are students, here is something that will help you. We've talked about key levels. This is the Dow Jones, and you'll notice earlier today, we had price respect this level multiple times. Now, what does this mean? It means that this is a place where buyers are willing to buy. Now, notice that price broke down below this level. Okay, very interesting. But what happened when price broke down below that? How did we know that price probably wasn't going to go any lower? Anyone tell me? Anyone see anything there? Yeah, bullish divergence. So we knew that we were going to get a bounce. We then got a second divergence. So this is for those of us who are students. We then got a push up from that level. I got a long position. We're currently up 20 pips and hopefully looking for a snap of that trend line. If it does, we can ride this thing a lot higher. So this is a lower time frame where we're able to make this trade will make 3% on my account if it moves a little bit higher into the trend line. So we don't have to trade simply off daily or weekly charts. This is a 5-minute chart. We can go down to a 1-minute chart. So instead of being in a long-term investment for months or years, we can be in and out within minutes. And instead of waiting an entire year to make 10%, sometimes you can make 10% in a day on special occasions. So does anyone have our excellent point, Zeph, the 0-0 level? Awesome, I love it. There's our 0-0 level. That is excellent spotting. So 33,100 right there. Big number for the banks. That's where all the banks trade from. And that's exactly where price rejected from. 0-0. That's excellent spotting. Amazing. So again, guys, I don't want to distill fear tonight, but I do want to say this is a skill set that you want to learn to understand how to take advantage. Because let's say the market does fall off a cliff. Let's say that real estate goes down. Let's say that crypto goes down. Let's say that everything goes down. Where do you put your money? Well, you can sell. You can short it. You can sell it when it collapses, buy it back when it's cheaper, and make the difference. So does anyone have any last questions? Apple. That's a great question. Let's have a look at Apple and see what happened there. Let's remove these lines. What is the AAPL? Okay, so Apple, yep, parabolic curve. It did not have the same capitulation, simply because it is just a ridiculous product and it just keeps being bought. Parabolic curve, snap of a trend line. There's our last failed push up. Let's put our trend line in. We're going to look across there. There's our entry. So Apple only went down 26%. Went down a little bit lower there. And that's simply because it's just such a powerful, it's one of the top companies in the world. Yes, Tesla and Amazon also are. But obviously with Apple, with second and third world countries getting access to smartphones, and that's an exponential market, this is always going to go up. So we definitely had a pullback, but it was not the same as Amazon or Tesla. And was there an opportunity to buy again at the lows? Absolutely, right there, because we are diverging. There's our entry. Let's get into a daily time frame. Here's our trend line break. There's our buy signal. There's our blue arrow indicating a buy. We get our pullback into the averages. 238, 50, 21. There's our entry. And from that point on, we were up 20%. So awesome. So does anyone have any last questions? Because I don't want to keep it tonight. There's a few questions here I've missed. Look, KiwiSaver is basically a big scam, unfortunately. I used to work in a couple of banks, understand how it works. When you invest your money in KiwiSaver, they take all your money invested in 3 different places: risky, not so risky, not risky at all. But most of those are invested in the stock market. So if the stock market collapses, you're going to lose your KiwiSaver. So I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I wouldn't want to have all my money in stocks. Absolutely not. So I'll let you talk to your financial advisor about that. But I would, if the markets collapse, you don't want to have, all your KiwiSaver will be gone. But I'm not telling you what to do. I am telling you to learn a skill set so that you can identify what's going to happen, and learn to make wise decisions before you do that, and also make extra money on the side as well by learning to trade. So any last questions? We're going to wrap it up because we've been going for an hour. I don't want to take all your night, but I hope that has been helpful. That's just one pattern of many that we use, that we can overlay to give us a sort of a higher level conceptual understanding of where the markets are possibly going by looking at what is in the minds and psyches of buyers and sellers and what they're willing to do right now. At the moment, a lot of uncertainty. But for example, if we look at Bitcoin, it's just beginning again. Yes, we've had a big sell-off, and I'm going to close with this because let's put on our indicator. We've had our divergence, and the divergence was the bottom of the market. It always is. So when a divergence is there, there was a high degree of probability it wasn't going to go down anymore. Once it broke up above the 0, we had the snap of the trend line. We now have our buy signal right here. Now, what happened the last time we had a sell signal? Well, we sold, and price went down 62%. What about the last buy signal before then? That was back in 2020. Go back. Here's our other buy signal, our last buy signal. And if you bought then, which I did not, and you held to the high, you're up 530% on a 1-for-1 basis. We have just got a buy signal this week, and we're bouncing off the moving averages. So Bitcoin is looking extremely bullish from here, as is XRP, super bullish, constructive, and no more questions. Etienne bought it. Amazing. All right, Ty, I'm going to give it back to you. Everyone, I hope you've had some value from tonight. For those of you who are in TAUPO or nearby, make sure you invite friends to our event next week on the 10th. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to who invited you to the Zoom call tonight. So thanks everyone and have a great evening.
Right. Absolutely outstanding. Completely glued to the screen. And I've got like people messaging me saying like, this is gold. I need to watch this from the beginning and watch it again. Like just for the way you went through that historic data and etc. Like it just, I don't know about everyone else, but it makes me just feel really special to be sitting here right now, listening to you and just getting so much of your wisdom and experience of what you see, feeling super empowered and just want to go and, yeah, I don't know about you, but go and mark up some charts and have a look at some stuff. So cool, man. Thank you so much. And again, guys, yeah, TAUPO, we are on in 10 days time. So there it is again. That is not 10 days time. Sorry, June the 10th, not this Saturday, next Saturday. If you're in or near or around TAUPO, or like myself, I'm going to be driving down from Auckland, come hang out with us again. We had such a good time in Auckland and it's going to be brilliant to get together in TAUPO. So looking forward to that. Otherwise, stay glued to the Facebook page. Once I said again, we've got something special coming this Sunday night as well. We'll be going live at 8 o'clock with something fresh. Besides that, guys, have an amazing rest of your evening and we will catch you guys on the next one. All right. Good night, everyone.